Here are 3 reasons you're not losing fat, even when you're doing everything right. I want to talk about something that's kind of annoying because it's where I'm at now, to be honest. I'm currently aiming to lose about 2 or 3 kilos of extra body fat. Let's call it fat. It's fluff, whatever. And honestly, my weight has not shifted even 100 grams in 4 weeks. And on paper, I'm doing everything right. My steps are at 14 to 15,000 days on average. I'm strength training consistently with progressive overload, doing 2 high intensity sessions a week. I'm tracking my food. I'm consistently hitting 100 grams or more of protein every single day, 25 grams of fiber. I'm doing all the things, right? If you looked at that from the outside, you'd probably say, well, surely you should be losing fat, but I'm not. And today I want to walk through why, because if you feel like you're doing all of the things and your body isn't changing, this might be exactly what's happening for you too. The truth is, fat loss, it's not about being perfect, but it is about being honest enough with the data and knowing what data to be looking at to know what's actually happening. And this is something I'm big on with my clients and inside the Goddess Project. We don't just guess. We look at your food and your steps and your training, your measurements, your photos, habits, recovery, and consistency so that we can troubleshoot instead of just assuming your body's broken and this is how it's going to be. Because often when fat loss is not happening, it's not because you're not working hard enough. It's because one of these 3 things is happening. And I'm going to start with probably the most common one. So reason number 1, I see this very often. You're eating healthily, but you don't know your intake or your goal. So you might have swapped takeaways and fast food for home cooked meals. You might be eating more whole foods. You might be getting more protein and fiber. You might be eating things like healthy foods, nuts and avocado and olive oil and smoothie bowls and protein snacks. And none of those foods are bad. In fact, a lot of them are great, but healthy food still contains energy. And when it comes to fat loss, like it or not, your body still needs to be in a calorie deficit. So that just means that over time, you're using more energy than you're taking in. So I want to give you a classic example that I see quite often. You might have a nutritious salad. You're feeling great. You're feeling really virtuous. It has olive oil and avocado and nuts and seeds. It might contain more calories than the burger that you used to eat that you've swapped it out for. That doesn't make it wrong. That doesn't mean it's a bad choice. It just means that awareness matters. And does that mean that you need to track calories to lose body fat? No, not necessarily. And many of my clients don't track them. And if you do track your calories, does it mean you need to do it forever? Also no. But if you're saying, I'm doing everything right and nothing is changing, then tracking can give you clarity. It'd be a bit like trying to save for a holiday without ever looking at how much money is coming in or going out. So you might feel like you're being careful, you're not spending too much, but the numbers are going to tell the real story. And yes, tracking can feel inconvenient, can be a bit of a pain in the butt. But do you know what is infinitely more inconvenient? Is spending months or years feeling frustrated because you're working hard and you're not seeing results. So the first issue is not knowing your intake. And honestly, this is a really common one. But the second one, this is the one that I'm personally dealing with right now. And when I say dealing with, it's self-imposed. I know what's happening, but let me talk you through that. So reason number 2 is you're tracking, but not consistently or honestly enough to move the needle. And as I said, this is me right now. My goal calories are set up to be in a deficit. I know what they should be. I've done this before. It's not my first rodeo. But just because my target is a deficit doesn't mean I'm actually in one. One of the most common things I hear from women who aren't getting results from tracking is, I'm in a deficit, but I'm not losing weight. The fact is, if you were in a true calorie deficit, you would by definition be losing weight. That's what a deficit is. Now, this doesn't mean that you're lying or being dishonest. It just means that there are gaps. And when I look at my data, honestly, I can see the gaps. I can go back over the last 4 weeks. I can see days where I didn't track properly or some days where I didn't track at all. I can see a meal out where I guessed, a snack here and there that didn't go in, a weekend that was close enough but not really accurate, the few extra bites, a few crackers here and there, the crust from my daughter's leftover toast, drinks or portions that were easy to overlook. All of these things add up and they count. And this is the bit that people often don't want to hear. You can't expect 100% results from 80% of data or 80% of accuracy. That does not mean you need to be obsessive. It does mean you need to have enough accuracy to be able to see what's happening. Because if your body's not changing and your tracking has gaps, the first thing to question isn't your metabolism. We don't need to overhaul the plan. We just need to see whether the data is complete enough to make a decision from. I've got a saying that I annoy my clients with. It's what we measure, we can manage. So if we're measuring, we can see where the gaps are and where you need to troubleshoot. It's also why I get my clients to track more than just food. So we look at steps, at their training, at measurements and photos, not just weight, protein and fiber and sleep and energy, consistency, recovery. We need some data on those things so that we can see the patterns over time, cycle changes, all of those things. When you have the data, it means you don't need to panic. You can make a plan based off of the data. You can troubleshoot. And I'm sharing this with you because I don't want to be the coach who pretends that I'm magically immune to the same things that everyone else deals with, or that this is easy for me. I know the principles, I teach the principles, and I still have to apply them honestly for them to actually work. So if you're in this position, if you're tracking, ask yourself, am I tracking accurately enough to know what's actually going on? Or am I tracking the easy bits, the convenient bits, and just guessing the rest? That leads us to reason number 3. You're not giving the plan enough time. So you might be doing the right things. The 2 above, you might be like, tick, done. But you're not being patient or persistent enough for it to actually work. So this usually looks like doing something well for a week or 2, not seeing the scale move, and then overhauling everything. New calories, new macros, new workout plan, more cardio, less carbs. You might try fasting or detox to see if that'll work. And you're back to square one. But fat loss is not linear. Your weight can be affected by water, by salt, by stress, by training soreness, hormones, sleep disruption, digestion, and your cycle. So that means that the scale can sit still even when you're doing a lot right. For example, this is just one small example. If you train hard and your muscles are sore, your body is going to hold some extra fluid while it repairs. That can mask fat loss on the scale for a little while. So the answer is not to change the plan every 5 minutes. It's to give the plan long enough and the consistent data long enough to be able to judge it properly. So a really good rule of thumb is be consistent for 4 weeks and then assess. Look at your weight trends, not just one weigh-in or a couple of random weigh-ins. Look at your measurements, look at your photos, look at how your clothes fit, and how, most importantly, at your adherence to the plan. So a lot of people I speak to, a lot of women I speak to want to change the plan when they haven't adhered to it consistently enough to know if it's actually working. So then you can make the smart adjustments if you need it. Because I also want to make an important distinction. There's a difference between being patient with slow progress and staying loyal to a plan that's simply not working. So that's why having the data and being able to assess the data accurately matters. So coming back to me where I'm at right now, the reason I haven't lost the 2 or 3 kilos that I'm aiming for isn't because my body's broken or things just aren't working anymore. It's not because strength training doesn't work or calories don't matter or steps don't count or that protein and fiber are irrelevant. Those things are still the foundation, and they are absolutely where we should start with and make sure that the foundation is really strong. The issue is that I haven't been consistent enough or honest enough with my tracking to confidently say I'm in a calorie deficit, which clearly I'm not, otherwise my weight would be coming down. So that's a really important distinction. My goal calories are a deficit, but my actual average intake clearly isn't. And that's a lesson for you and for me, and I will be more consistent and more diligent with that tracking from here on in because I have the data. So if you're feeling stuck, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, am I eating healthily but not actually aware of how much I'm eating or how much I should be eating to lose fat sustainably? If you have no idea of how many calories you're consuming or how much protein you're consuming, and also how much you should be consuming in an ideal world to lose body fat without tanking your hormones and your metabolism, then that's number 1. Number 2, am I tracking at all? But leaving out enough that the data isn't reliable. So yeah, I'm tracking, but kind of here and there, not quite on point. 80%, unfortunately, for most people is not going to be enough to move the needle. Maybe for some, maybe at the start, but if you're closer to your goal weight and you have 5, 10-ish kilos to lose, you're just going to have to be more diligent, more precise with that tracking. And number 3, am I being impatient and changing the plan before I've given it enough time? Because most of the time, I'd say all of the time, the solution isn't more cardio or cutting everything out. It's not blaming your metabolism or your genetics or your lack of willpower. It's just getting clear, collecting the right data and making some small and sustainable adjustments. And that's exactly why with my clients inside the Goddess Project, we focus on strategy, support, and sustainability. So strategy, so you know what to do. It's got to work. It's got to be effective, otherwise there's no point. Support, so you're not trying to figure it all out on your own. And sustainability, so you're not swinging between being on and off every few weeks. If you feel like you're doing everything right, but you are stuck, comment below or send me the word, DM me the word track, and I'll send you the first few things that I would look at if you're my client. Hope that helps, girls. Talk soon. Bye.